Everyone wants a high-end phone, but the problem is nobody really wants to pay for one. That's where OnePlus comes in, making flagship-level phones for a couple $100 less than the competition. The latest in the line is the OnePlus 5, and this is the Android Central review. OnePlus is known for making solid, if unspectacular, hardware, and the OnePlus 5 is no exception. Whether you choose the slate gray or midnight black model, you get a well-built, sleek, and more rounded-off phone than the OnePlus 3, albeit without much to make it stand out from a crowd. Just think of a generic smartphone shape, and you pretty much have the OnePlus 5. On the other hand, the spec sheet is not at all typical for this phone's $479 price. By default, you get a hefty 6GB of RAM and 64GB of storage, but you can also option up a ridiculous 8GB of RAM and 128GB of storage for just $60 extra. In either case, you get the latest Snapdragon 835 processor, an above-average 3300 mAh battery, and a solid 5.5-inch 1080p AMOLED display. You even get some nice-to-have features like a great fingerprint sensor, dual SIM slots, a really loud speaker, and a clever hardware mute switch. Of course, the one big missing hardware feature here is waterproofing. Something has to give when you're a couple $100 cheaper than the competition. Like its hardware, the OnePlus 5 software is also pretty bare bones, but in this case, that's a great thing. Oxygen OS, as OnePlus calls it, is basically stock Android 7.1 with a handful of clever, useful, and unique customizations. There's a slightly tweaked launcher, support for customizable gestures, a reading mode to reduce eye strain, and several ways to tweak the experience to your liking. And it's all done without tons of overbearing features, unwanted apps, or unnecessary visual changes. The result is a phone that's a joy to use in terms of the interface, but also in its performance. Just as you'd expect, a Snapdragon 835 processor and 6GB of RAM absolutely scream, making the OnePlus 5 one of the best performing phones available today. Even with that blazing performance, battery life remains above the industry average. I ended most days with about 20% battery remaining, which is a nice buffer to know I could get through a heavier day without charging if needed. And when I did need to top up quickly, OnePlus's dash charge, which remains unchanged from the OnePlus 3, came to the rescue. The most unique aspect of the OnePlus 5 is its camera setup, which is now comprised of a 16-megapixel main camera and a 20-megapixel secondary camera. That second camera is equipped with a longer focal length lens, giving you the choice of simply shooting with that lens alone, or combining the two for a neat portrait mode effect that selectively blurs the background of your image to mimic a DSLR. The main camera is a solid step up from the OnePlus 3, and daylight photos are crisp and accurate, but its small pixels and lack of OIS lead to photos that are just a little grainier than I'd like in low-light situations. Altogether, it's not quite up to the performance of the Galaxy S8, LG G6, or HTC U11, but then again, that's to be expected for its price. At the same time, the secondary camera adds to the experience by giving you really interesting shots that you just don't see from other cameras. But its 1-micron pixels and f/2.6 aperture make it really only useful in good lighting. Thankfully, it comes in handy for portrait mode, which doesn't always perfectly blur scenes, but when it works, the results are amazing. In a never-ending race to get consumers' attention, phone companies keep coming up with new features, hardware designs, and gimmicks. But what's often lost in the shuffle is execution on the core smartphone experience, the basic things that everyone wants. OnePlus absolutely nails that core experience with the OnePlus 5. It doesn't do everything that the flagship competition does, or match each phone feature for feature, but it's a well-built phone with a good screen, great spec sheet, amazing performance, and a capable dual camera setup with clean, fast, and intuitive software. For just $479, that's a pretty amazing feat, and there's no doubt that this will be OnePlus's most successful phone yet. Thanks for watching this review, and be sure to subscribe to Android Central here on YouTube to see all of our future videos.